Hello, all you crypto fans, and yes, we are going to talk about Bitcoin's continued pump. Another 1,000 points today, smashed through 35,000. Unfortunately, this happened after my stream, so we weren't able to celebrate it on stream, but we will look at it tonight. But we got some other spicy news that we got to talk about first, including our favorite scam token, Safemoon. Yes, their perpetrators are being charged by both the SEC and the DOJ. The SEC can make you pay a lot of fines. The DOJ can throw you in jail. The DOJ, by comparison, is a lot scarier than the SEC. That same applies for FinCEN. FinCEN is generally much more scary than the SEC in legal terms and in charging you. But of course, Safemoon was a scam all along. I remember in the last bull run, people were like, Safemoon is the real deal. Same thing with like Cumrocket and other stuff. And then they all died. But Safemoon was peculiar because it had such a big following that after it dumped 99.9%, people were like, still like, yeah, it's going to go back up because I believe in it. These guys are real. No, they were scammers to the core and now they are arrested. But that does not mean you're going to get your money back. In fact, your money is probably lost. But let's see what actually has happened because the DOJ has unsealed the indictments against the Safemoon people. The DOJ said Brandon Johnny Caroni and Thomas Smith have been arrested, but Kylie Nagy remains at large. So they arrested 2 out of the 3, but the third one is still out there somewhere. But these guys are probably going to go in the slammer. They probably have like several millions, if not tens of millions of dollars tucked away. I don't know if they're actually going to be able to pay back the customers. Probably not, because people lost a lot of money with Safemoon. They're being charged with conspiracy to commit securities fraud, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, and money laundering. Very serious charges. I don't know how much jail time they'll get, but they'll probably be fined into oblivion as well. There is a civil suit and a criminal suit. A civil suit is basically damages, and a criminal suit is throwing you in jail. So the DOJ is the criminal suit, criminal part of it, and the SEC is going to be the civil part of it. So Safemoon was launched in March 2021, and that's when the bull run was. So next bull run, you gotta be careful with new Safemoons out there, because I can promise you there will be new Safemoons out there. And it caught on with investors for giving half the proceeds from his 10% transaction fee to token holders. This is kind of like called reflection. Now, this gets me to a good point. If you see a token with this reflection mechanic, you should stay far, far away, especially if it's a lot. Now, the thing is, like using the gas to pay validators, that's generally going to be okay because that's how a lot of coins are going to eventually operate. Using like the chain fees to actually like keep the chain going. But if you have like a 10% transaction fee, which is ludicrous, and you're using like 5%, you're using half of that to pay holders, just regular holders, not validators or anything, you should run far away from the coin. Every single one of these reflection mechanic coins have basically bit the dust. I know a bunch of them have tried to convince me to shill them on my channel, saying like, oh, it's magical, it'll work. Nah, brah, it doesn't work. It never works. Like, charging a 10% fee for transactions is garbage, first of all. But then saying like, you're going to pay like all the token holders by these fees, that basically is counterintuitive to yourself because these large fees more or less have people not wanting to ever spend the coin. And of course, you're depending on people wanting to spend the coin to actually pay your holders. And the holders wouldn't actually hold this coin if it wasn't for those fees. So the reflection mechanic in terms of crypto is a scam mechanic. I can say that for sure. And you should not invest in any coin with this reflection mechanic because it doesn't really last all that long, especially if there's like massive amount of transaction fees like 10%. Even 1 or 2%, I would be very, very suspicious. At its peak, Safemoon reached 0.3 cents, but it's since fallen to some really small number that we're not going to mention because people have lost more than 99% of their money. And of course, the defendants lied to Safemoon investors concerning whether SFM using of locked liquidity was inaccessible to defendants as well as their personal holdings. So obviously the locked liquidity was accessible for defendants. They scammed out a lot of money because Safemoon grew to a cap of more than $8 billion, but its executives fraudulently diverted and misappropriated millions of dollars worth of purportedly locked SFM liquidity. So the locked SFM liquidity was not actually locked. They just withdrew a lot of it and then they ran off with the funds. Of course, They purchased a lot of goodies with it, including an $860,000 Porsche 911 sports car. Now, Porsche 911s usually do not cost $860,000. I think I saw one that for sale at around like maybe $160,000. So definitely very, very highly customized. So they obviously purchased like cars and real estate for their own purposes, and people just lost out on tens of millions of dollars. So Safemoon was not very safe. The moon is generally not safe. There is no life on it because Chuck Norris got there first. But 2 of the 3 have actually been arrested, but the other one is at large. So be careful of these Safemoon projects in the next crypto bull market because they could just end up screwing you. And the SEC and DOJ investigations are still ongoing, and this stuff is going to make crypto look bad to the public. But those of us who are in crypto are very much familiar with this, so it doesn't really bother me all that much, but it could incur or prevent more people from coming into crypto, which is what crypto needs right now. Very, very bad, in my opinion. So it's good that they got arrested, but bad this fraud went out for so long, and bad the cap reached $8 billion. So the SBF trial has come to closing remarks by both sides, and the trial is going to last until 11/9, and we're talking about up to 114 years in jail for Sam Bankman-Fried. So his fate is now in the hands of the jury. And of course, in the closing remarks, the prosecution said SBF was at the top of a web of deceit and a pyramid scheme of fraud and lies, which is 100% correct. While the defense said the case against SBF is fantasy, I think it's fantasy that they're actually going to get a not guilty verdict. Like I said, I believe their strategy for a while has been to convince at least one person in the jury to actually get a hung trial so they can bargain for a better deal. But I don't think that's going to happen considering what happened at the cross-examination. SBF got completely and utterly trashed in front of the jury and everyone else. And the thing is, like, the prosecutor basically was like, bitch, I have all the receipts. You can't just say I don't recall to all this stuff. So Sam Bankman-Fried has been thoroughly buried by the testimonies of Carolyn Ellison, Gary Wang, and Nishad, and been completely and utterly buried by the prosecution in the cross-examination. The closing remarks, I don't think will change the jury's minds. And the jury has until next Friday to come up with a verdict. And like I said, we're looking up to 114 years in jail if he's convicted on all accounts. I don't think it'll quite be 114 years. That's like Bernie Madoff numbers. But I do think it'll be several decades in jail. And remember, I think he is going to federal prison, so there's not too much of a chance of early parole. It's going to be like 10, 12 years before he even qualifies parole. There's not going to be any political figures that are going to step in and save him because he is too toxic of an asset to actually touch right now for anyone in the political realm. No one wants to be friends with Sam Bankman-Fried anymore, so he's looking at a lot of jail time. For those of you that are wondering about Gary Wang, Carolyn Ellison, those on the plea deal, they're only going to get charged with tax fraud, which means a maximum probably of like 5 or 10 years in jail. They're probably going to get something like 2-3 years in jail and then like 2 years of like community service or something like that. But the thing is, it's worth it to get their testimony to completely bury the mob boss in Sam Bankman-Fried. So bye-bye, Sam Bankman-Fried. It was nice knowing you. FTX is probably dead. Now we got to talk about this Bitcoin run. We are at $35,300 right now. And the thing is, I think we are continuing to go up. I think the Fed meeting alleviated any concerns that people had of a bear market. We paused. We did not actually increase the interest rate. And Jerome Powell was actually much more dovish today than he has been in the past. Now, he wasn't like a cute little dove, no. But he did say that, these hikes were probably going to end unless some unforeseen accident or event actually happens, which I don't really see. And he basically says we're going to maybe maintain the high rates and we'll adjust as circumstances allow us to. He did not go on the hyper hawkish route of we definitely see more rate hikes in the future. So I think people took that as a cue that the economy is finally going to turn around. He also said we had really good numbers this summer and into the fall, which means he actually sees that their current strategy is working and that they don't really need to raise interest rates anymore, which is very, very good news for us. And I don't think there's anything that's going to stop the Bitcoin bull run right now. Elizabeth Warren's excuse that it was funding Hamas has been torn to shreds by experts. So I don't think she's going to gather two more for a crypto army. Cynthia Loomis and the Government Accountability Office is working hard to keep the SEC in check, and there could be many lawsuits coming for Gary Gensler and the SEC, so they're going to be pacified and destroyed in a while. And of course, you have that $400 million Tether transfer into Binance, which could actually be being used by Bitcoin right now. So I expect us to go even higher over the weekend, hopefully well clear 35, well on to $40,000. The SEC is having a special meeting. I don't really know what that special meeting is, but it just might be that they're going to approve the ETF, and if it does, we're going to 40,000 or higher. I think we're going to steamroll. I mean, we might obviously retrace under 35,000 for a little while, but I think overall, we're definitely steamrolling past 35,000 and on to 40,000 we go, and there's nothing stopping this crypto train right now. So that's the news for today. Let me know what you think. Like and subscribe. Hit that bell notifications button. Thank you and have a nice day.